Ladies and gentlemen, when you hear the word no, most people take it as a shutdown, a signal to retreat, to back away from the edge and go back to comfort. But what they don't realize is that every no you hear in life is not a dead end. It's a spark, it's energy. It's raw material, the kind of energy that doesn't just sit there but can be transformed into action, into growth, into domination of your circumstances. Most people crumble under rejection. They let the sting of resistance chip away at their confidence like a slow acid. But the few who rise, they do something completely different. They interpret no as a challenge. They let it hit them, but instead of backing off, they move forward harder, faster, and more focused. Every no is feedback from the universe. It's saying, are you ready to evolve or will you give up? See, it's not the rejection that stops people, it's their interpretation of it. It's the meaning they attach to the word. You can either believe that rejection proves your limitations, or you can decide that rejection proves the world hasn't seen your full power yet. When you make the second decision, that's when things shift. That's when the internal fire begins to stir. Here's the thing: people think success is about winning all the time. It's not. Success is built on rejection, disappointment, doubt, and being told no, over and over again until the word loses its meaning. In fact, if you're not hearing no regularly, you're playing too small. You're staying in the safe zone, the comfort zone, the space where nothing burns, nothing grows, and nothing changes. But the fire, the transformation, that only starts when someone tries to stop you, when someone says, you're not good enough, you're not ready, you can't do this. That's the ignition. But what happens to most people? They feel hurt. They internalize the no, like it defines them. They start believing that one person's judgment, sometimes a person who has done nothing significant themselves, is somehow the final word on their potential. That's a trap, a deep, destructive trap, and it's built into our culture. Don't try too hard, don't push too far, don't aim too high, because failure will hurt. Rejection will sting, but the truth, that sting is fuel. And if you understand how to use it, it becomes unstoppable momentum. Think about it like this: every single person who ever created something massive in life got told no. So many times they lost count. They were doubted, laughed at, dismissed, but the difference: they didn't stop. They used it. They sharpened their minds. They upgraded their skills. They trained harder. They worked longer. They obsessed over mastery, and eventually they reached a place where no didn't matter anymore. Where the only answer they accepted was yes, and not from the world, but from themselves, from their actions. From their results. You have to rewire how your brain reacts to resistance. Instead of folding when you face rejection, lean in. Push through. Tell yourself, good, this is the universe making sure I'm not playing weak. Every no you hear is just the next level asking, are you really about this life? Are you ready to go further? If you can say yes in that moment, not to them but to yourself, then you've already won the mental game. Rejection is a mirror. It shows you where you're not yet strong. It shows you the cracks, the gaps, the areas where you're still soft. And that's a blessing. That's data. That's the pressure you need to evolve into something harder, sharper, more precise. If no one's rejecting you, you're not risking enough, you're not moving fast enough, you're not playing the real game, you're simulating it. And that's not where greatness is found. Let people say no. Let them walk away, let them doubt. Every time you hear it, you collect fuel. You collect reason, you build pressure, and pressure is what forges kings. It's what builds warriors. You can either see no as rejection, or you can see it as direction toward a better you, a stronger you, a more dangerous you. You have to flip the script in your own mind. Start getting excited when you hear no. Start feeling powerful when people resist you. That's a sign that you're finally pushing boundaries, that you're not living in the shallow end anymore, that you've stepped into the place where change happens. You want to build something massive, get ready to be told no. more times than you can count. Get ready for doors to slam. Get ready for silence, dismissal, and even mockery. And when it comes, you don't flinch. You let it hit, and then you move, you use it, you rise. Negative emotions are one of the most misunderstood forces in human experience. From the time you were young, you were taught to suppress them, avoid them, pretend like they don't exist. You were told not to feel angry, not to feel sad, not to feel frustrated, because those emotions were labeled as bad. But the truth is those emotions are not weaknesses. They're not flaws in your design, they're energy. They're powerful, raw energy that, when used correctly, can move mountains, transform your life, and unlock levels of focus and power you didn't even know were inside you. Emotion, when broken down, is literally energy in motion. It's a signal that something inside you is shifting, stirring, activating. And most people waste that energy. They drown in it. They let their anger sit in their chest and rot. They let fear paralyze them. They let sadness isolate them. They don't understand that every one of those negative feelings has a purpose. It's a trigger, a tool, a push from within telling you something has to change. The pain you feel isn't just there to hurt. It's there to move you. When you get angry, that's your body and mind waking up. Your system is alerting you to something that isn't right, something that needs correction, something that demands action. But most people, they numb it, they scroll, they eat, they smoke, they distract themselves, and what happens? That energy, that signal, never gets used. It just turns inward and becomes bitterness, resentment, depression. And then they wonder why they feel stuck, empty, confused. It's because the system was screaming for movement, and they chose silence. Look at high performers, top athletes, leaders, fighters, creators. Do you think they never feel fear, frustration, anger? Of course they do. The difference is they've trained themselves to use it. They take that emotion and inject it into their habits, into their workouts, into their business moves, into their mindset work, into their vision. They don't deny the negative feelings, they direct them. Like a missile locked onto a target, they let that energy serve them instead of destroy them. The reason most people fail isn't because they feel too much. It's because they never learned how to convert what they feel into results. That anxiety you carry, it's not the enemy. It's a form of awareness. It means you care. It means something matters deeply to you. That anxiety could be used as fuel to prepare more, to study harder, to become sharper, but instead most people freeze in it. They think it's a flaw instead of understanding it's just misdirected power. You have to understand something fundamental. The emotional system inside you was never designed to be comfortable. It was designed to alert you, to move you, to challenge you, and the more intense the emotion, the more energy is available to you, if you're willing to face it. But facing it doesn't mean sitting in it and soaking in self-pity. It means examining it, using it, transforming it into momentum. Think about anger. Anger is one of the strongest emotional charges you can experience. Most people associate it with destruction, with chaos, with violence. But what is anger really? It's the emotional reaction to perceived injustice, misalignment, or disrespect. And when channeled correctly, anger becomes an absolute powerhouse of productivity. It becomes determination. It becomes the drive to prove yourself right, to overcome, to obliterate obstacles, but you only access that power if you refuse to sit still in the emotion. If you get up, move, and push forward with intention, the same goes for sadness. It's often a sign of loss, of misdirection, of unmet potential. And again, most people sit in it like it's quicks, but sadness can become deep clarity. It can wake you up to what actually matters. It can sharpen your decisions. It can strip away what's fake and leave you with what's real, but only if you allow yourself to feel it with purpose, and then move with discipline. You don't eliminate negative emotions by avoiding them. You master them by using them. You feel the full wave, and then you pick up the weight, make the call, study the plan, execute the move. You train your nervous system to understand that emotion is not a signal to stop, it's a signal to act. That's the rewire that separates the average from the elite. Every time you feel something negative rise inside you, you are being handed pure, potent fuel. The question is, what are you doing with it? Are you letting it own you, or are you transmuting it into discipline, into clarity, into power? This is the edge that most never touch. They wait to feel good before they take action. They wait for motivation. They wait for peace, but the ones who dominate are the ones who take action when they're uncomfortable. When they're uncertain, when they're angry, sad, tired, and overwhelmed, but they move anyway. They've learned the secret. You don't fight emotion, you ride it. You direct it like a laser. You build systems that allow that emotional energy to flow into structure, habits, and consistent execution. Because the more you do this, the less you become a victim of your feelings, and the more you become the architect of your future. Your entire life is a reflection of the internal frequency you're operating on. Your results, your opportunities, your relationships, your income, even your health. None of it is random. It's all a byproduct of the vibration you're consistently putting out. Most people are entirely unaware of this truth. They live in reaction, not creation. They respond to circumstances instead of commanding them. They get stuck in low-level thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, and then they wonder why life never seems to change, why they keep running into the same walls, why nothing seems to work out the way they want it to. But here's what they don't realize. The outer world never shifts until the inner world does. And the inner world is governed by frequency. Frequency isn't just a spiritual or abstract idea, it's real. It's practical, it's measurable. Your thoughts are energy, your emotions are energy. Every choice you make sends out a signal, a vibration, and the quality of that vibration determines what you attract and what you repel. If you're operating on a low frequency, thinking in scarcity, living in fear, radiating insecurity, you're going to pull in more of the same. More struggle, more anxiety, more people and situations that match that energy. It's not punishment. It's precision. It's alignment. You can't manifest success while thinking like a failure. You can't expect abundance while obsessing over lack. You can't attract power while constantly reinforcing weakness through your internal dialogue. People try to fake it. They talk big, they post motivational quotes, they tell others they're grinding, but internally they're vibrating at self, doubt, confusion, and desperation. That's why nothing sticks. That's why the progress is temporary or non-existent. The universe isn't responding to your words. It's responding to your energy. If you want real change, you don't start by hustling harder. You don't start by forcing the outside. You start by shifting the inside. You start by upgrading your frequency. That means taking control of what you think about, what you dwell on, what you consume, what you feel, and what you repeatedly say to yourself. Most people don't even realize they're running old programs, limiting beliefs they picked up from childhood, from teachers, from media, from broke, average-minded people who never built anything. And they let those old codes keep looping. Then they wonder why their life feels stuck on repeat. But you're not a victim of your thoughts. You're the operator. You can shift the channel anytime you want, but only if you become conscious. Only if you stop accepting every thought that enters your mind as truth. Most of the thoughts you think aren't even yours. They're borrowed, installed, conditioned, and if you don't challenge them, you live out a script that isn't even your own. You want to elevate your results, then elevate your frequency. That means thinking bigger, feeling bigger, walking with more certainty, acting with more precision, speaking with more conviction. You must raise your internal standard of how you see yourself and how you engage with the world. You must become obsessed with energy, not just physical energy, but emotional and mental energy. Ask yourself constantly, what vibration am I in right now? Is this thought raising my frequency or lowering it? Is this emotion fueling my power or draining it? The people who live extraordinary lives aren't just talented, they're tuned in. They guard their frequency like their life depends on it, because it does. They don't let negative environments, toxic people, or small-minded conversations pull them into the mud. They choose their inputs deliberately. They program their minds like elite athletes, train their bodies relentlessly and intentionally. Changing your frequency doesn't happen overnight. It's daily work, repetition, focus, discipline. It's choosing the higher thought when the lower one shows up. It's interrupting the fear spiral and injecting belief. It's replacing doubt with action, replacing anger with vision, replacing confusion with clarity. Every time you do this, you reinforce the new frequency. You teach your subconscious that this new level is the new normal. And once you stabilize a higher frequency, the game changes, the right people show up, the right ideas come to you. The right opportunities seem to coincidentally appear. It's not magic, it's mechanics. You've aligned your inner world with what you want in your outer world. Now they can match, but here's the trap most fall into. They shift their frequency temporarily, and then they fall back. They meditate once, they affirm for a week, they listen to a few positive audios, but when resistance shows up, when a challenge hits, when an old fear resurfaces, they revert. They go back to the old frequency because it's familiar, comfortable, predictable, and so the old results return. That's why repetition matters more than intensity. It's not about a temporary high. It's about building a stable internal state that holds its ground even when life pushes back. You can't afford to live unconsciously anymore. Not if you want to lead, not if you want to dominate. Not if you want to write your own story. You must become hyper, aware of the energy you carry. Every room you walk into, every conversation you have, every decision you make, your frequency is speaking louder than your words. And the world is listening. You are not your past. You are not your habits. You are not the beliefs that were handed to you by people who settled. You are not the sum of the limits placed on you by society, culture, or your family. You are not broken. You've been programmed. And just like any program, it can be rewritten. The problem is, most people walk around acting like the program is permanent. They act like their personality, their thinking patterns, their emotional reactions, and their belief systems are fixed. But they are not. They are installed. Repetition did that. Conditioning did that. Environment did that. And repetition, conditioning, and environment can rewire it all. You were taught to think small. You were taught to follow rules that keep you boxed in. You were taught that money is hard to get, that success is reserved for the lucky few, that you should be realistic and play it safe. Those beliefs aren't truths. They're mental software written by people who never questioned the system. People who passed down their fears and limitations like family heirlooms. But here's what separates the few who rise from the masses who remain stuck. The few realize they have the power to update the code. They realize the mind is a tool, one that must be shaped, sharpened, and directed with discipline. They don't let their programming control them. They take control of the programming. From the moment you wake up, your brain starts running scripts. Thoughts pop up automatically, doubts, fears, worries, distractions, and you don't even question them. You assume they're yours, but most of them aren't. They're just patterns you've allowed to loop over and over again until they became your identity. I'm not good enough. I always mess things up. I can't focus. I never have enough time. I wasn't born for this. These aren't facts. They're just scripts, and the moment you recognize that, you take the first step toward real freedom. You've got to start challenging everything, every automatic thought, every emotional reaction, every internal voice that tries to keep you small. Question it, tear it apart, ask who told me this, when did I decide this was true, what evidence do I really have that this belief is accurate? And you'll find that most of your mental limits are nothing more than inherited stories. Stories you've repeated so often that they feel real. But repetition doesn't equal truth. It only equals familiarity. Once you see the script, you can rewrite it. You can replace the old code with new commands, and just like a computer, your brain will follow those commands if given consistently and with intention. You must start programming yourself on purpose. That means feeding your mind with content that aligns with the version of you that you want to become. That means repeating empowering beliefs until they overwrite the old ones. That means visualizing your success so vividly and so often that your nervous system starts believing it's already real. Rewriting the program means cutting out the people who reinforce the old software, the ones who remind you of your failures. The ones who doubt you, the ones who normalize mediocrity. You can't rewire your brain while surrounding yourself with people who reinforce the limitations you're trying to destroy. You must become ruthless about your inputs. You must guard your mind like your life depends on it, because it does. Every piece of information you allow in is either reinforcing the old or building the new. There is no neutral. This also means watching how you speak. Language is programming. Every time you say, "I'm tired," "I can't," "I don't know," "I'm stressed," you're carving those identities deeper into your neural pathways. Words matter, thoughts matter. They're not just expressions, they're instructions. So start giving your mind better instructions. Start affirming your focus, your strength, your intelligence, your power, your discipline. Not once, not twice, but daily, relentlessly, until the new program becomes automatic. Rewiring also requires emotional mastery. Every emotion you feel is a response to how you interpret reality, and your interpretations are based on your programming. If your code says failure means you're worthless, then every mistake will feel like a crisis. But if your code says failure is fuel, then every setback becomes an opportunity. You must retrain how you process reality. You must update the emotional meaning you give to events. The world doesn't change. You do. You are not your current results. You are your potential, shaped by your beliefs. And those beliefs are moldable. You don't have to stay stuck in the old pattern. You don't have to keep repeating the same thoughts, making the same choices, feeling the same way, and calling it who you are. That's not identity. That's conditioning. Identity is something you build, not something you inherit. It's something you construct through conscious repetition of the thoughts, habits, and emotions that match your vision. Neuroscience proves this. Neuroplasticity is real. Your brain changes based on what you think, feel, and do repeatedly. You can literally rewire your internal structure, but you have to show up for it. You have to train it like an athlete trains for competition, daily, deliberately, intensely. Most people won't. Most people stay on autopilot and complain about the results, but you have a choice. You can override the program, you can disrupt the loop, you can teach your brain a new rhythm, a new language, a new direction. All of it begins the moment you stop living by default and start living by design. Purpose is not something you stumble upon. It's not something that lands in your lap while you're waiting around, hoping life gets better. Purpose isn't gifted to you, it's not assigned, it's not handed out to the chosen few, it's forged. It's built. It's created through pressure, through challenge, through struggle, and through the decisions you make when everything inside you wants to quit. People wait their entire lives for something external to give them a reason to move, to change, to rise. But what they don't realize is that purpose doesn't arrive before the work. It's discovered through the work. You build it every day by how you show up, especially when you don't feel like it. Most people sit on the sidelines waiting. They say they're trying to find their purpose, like it's some mystical object hidden behind a wall. But what they're really doing is hiding behind confusion to avoid responsibility, because claiming your purpose means owning everything. It means looking at the pain, the setbacks, the failures, the darkness, and deciding that none of it was wasted. That every part of it will be used, that every moment will be leveraged, that your worst days will be fuel for your greatest mission. That's not a search. It's a decision. You don't wait for purpose, you choose it, you carve it out of the mess. You define it by taking action when the excuses are loudest. You find it in the gym when your body is exhausted, but you give more. You find it at your desk when your mind is tired, but you stay focused. You find it in the silence when no one is clapping, when no one is watching, and you still keep going. That's the birthplace of purpose, not in comfort, not in applause, but in the raw, unfiltered moments when everything hurts and you move anyway. People think purpose feels good. That's another lie. Purpose doesn't always feel good. It often feels heavy. It feels like pressure. It feels like doing things you don't want to do because your vision demands it. It feels like letting go of short-term pleasure to build something that lasts. It feels like discipline. Purpose is forged in discomfort. It's carved through repetition. It's validated by your actions, not your feelings. The mistake people make is waiting to feel inspired, but purpose isn't built on inspiration. It's built on intention. It's built on showing up day after day, even when the fire is dim, even when motivation disappears, even when doubt creeps in and whispers that it's pointless. The world will not hand you a mission. It's not going to come knocking at your door and offer you clarity. Clarity comes from movement. Purpose comes from choosing to go deeper into the challenge, not around it. You have to be willing to suffer a little, to be uncomfortable, to be uncertain, because that's where you begin to uncover what you're made of. That's when you start realizing that your life is about more than survival. It's about impact. It's about domination. It's about creating something so strong that even your weakest moment becomes a part of your legacy. Waiting is the enemy. Every second you spend waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect idea, the perfect sign, that's time lost. You create meaning through movement, you find your fire through friction, and you discover who you are by stepping into what most people run away from. Most people want to be remembered, but they won't even do the work to remember who they truly are. They bury themselves under distractions, excuses, and lies. And then they say, I don't know my purpose, but deep down they do. Deep down they know what they need to do. They're just afraid to start, afraid to fail, afraid to face themselves fully. But purpose doesn't care about fear. It cares about action. You are here for more, but more isn't something you find, it's something you become. It's something you build every time you choose discipline over laziness, structure over chaos, growth over comfort. You build your purpose in the moments when quitting would be easier. You build it when you hold yourself to a higher standard, when no one is holding you accountable, but you still raise the bar. That's purpose. It's internal. It's built behind the scenes, and it only becomes visible when the world starts to see the results of your invisible battles. This isn't about passion. Passion fades, purpose sustains. Passion is emotional, purpose is structural. It keeps you steady when the emotions collapse. It keeps you grounded when everything is shaking. It's the reason you don't fold under pressure. The reason you keep building when others stop. You're not here to exist. You're here to create, and purpose is your blueprint. But blueprints are useless if you don't build. You've got to make something out of yourself. Every choice, every rep, every sacrifice. That's a brick in the foundation of your legacy. And don't expect anyone to understand it. Don't expect people to cheer you on. Purpose is lonely at times. But that's where the real power lies, in your ability to carry on, even when no one else sees the vision. Even when no one else believes it, you keep going, you keep working, you keep evolving, because your purpose isn't about them, it's about who you become in the process. It's about being undeniable, being relentless, being unshakable. You're not waiting for purpose to show up. You're meeting it in the mirror every time you refuse to settle.